let's discuss some Victorian era. Hello, my bookworms, and welcome to today's review on The Tea Rose by Jennifer Donnelly. To make this review a little bit more appropriate than usual, I have brewed myself a nice cup of, well, green tea, but tea nonetheless, because that is the main focal point in this book is tea. As you guys know, this was a big book. It was about 540 some pages. It's the tallest paperback I've ever owned in my life lengthwise, and it's just massive with tiny print, but I thoroughly did enjoy this story. And do you know what I love about books? I love when you finish a book and you find out that that book continues on to another book, and that book goes on again, and it's kind of like a series book, but you didn't know it was a series book when you first purchased that book, and you're like, yes, I can continue on with these characters. You get that with the Tea Rose. I finished the Tea Rose only to find out that it continued on into the Winter Rose, and the Winter Rose supposedly continues on into the Wild Rose. So I am calling this the Rose series because I'm wanting every single one of them. Our main character is Fiona Finnegan. She's an Irish immigrant who lives in the slums of London. She lives in Whitechapel, so when I said, oh, I hope this book has something to do with Jack the Ripper, it totally does. The very first chapter you get in this book is Jack the Ripper murdering someone, so that was a good enough hook to really pull me in because I was just so excited by that, and that is disturbing to admit, but I was excited. The next chapter, we are introduced to the main character, Fiona, and she is working in a tea factory where it is stated then and there that she has a nose for tea. She knows her tea. She works for this company called Burton's Tea, and her boss, the guy who owns the company, Mr. Burton, is the asshole boss we have all had at one point in time. The one who's like, I am not paying you a penny more. You're going to stand there and suffer, no breaks, no nothing. I mean, you can't get away with that in today's day and age, but that was him. You are then introduced to every single character in this book. You are given their point of views, their thoughts, their processes, and it seems like it would be a small, trivial thing to do, that would bore the reader. But when things start to happen, when things fall into place and everything's going bad for these characters, you really feel for them because you know them on a level that you don't get with most other books. So I really did enjoy that because, they experience this trauma and you feel for them. So when everything starts to go bad, I really, really did feel for these characters, especially Fiona. She has everyone she loves and cares about ripped away from her in one earth-shattering moment, and it is so horrible. When things start to happen, this is going to be a bit spoilery because there's no way to explain why Fiona does what she does to get to where she is without explaining this. So, let's get into it. Fiona's father works in the same company as she does with the Burton's Tea. He is kind of more of a manual labor man. He works up in the rigs and manufacturing something. I don't know, mechanical stuff. He, however, is part of the union that, was very frowned upon, and most bosses and places of employment did not want the union at that time. They refused to have it, and anyone who was part of the union was fired. And if you did a strike, chances are you were fired. You weren't given anything. Burton, however, is not having any of that, and he ends up staging the murder of Fiona's father to make it look like an accident. He falls from like 5 stories and is killed. Not quickly either. That's really sad. With that said, you know all of the characters in Fiona's family. You know her mother, you know Fiona, you know her brother Charlie, and when they find this out, when they have to watch their father die, you really feel bad for them. And it's earth shattering. But the worst part is knowing that they had to change their lifestyle. They already lived poorly. They were already pretty much in the poorhouse. And without the income of Fiona's father, Fiona's mother was forced into getting a better job, but no one's going to hire her, so Fiona had to get another job. So she had 2 jobs. Charlie took up fighting, and it's horrible because none of them could accumulate that kind of money. They couldn't stay where they needed to stay, so they moved from the slums of London to the slums of Whitechapel. Whitechapel's the slum of London, and they moved within the slums. Like, they are worse than where they were, and you really feel bad for them. And at that time, Jack the Ripper is going around murdering all these people, so you really, really feel bad for these people. To add insult to injury to Fiona, she has a boyfriend. His name is Joe. They're in love. They plan to open a shop one day and, become millionaires. Yeah, it's a very overzealous plan, but that's what she wants. That's what he wants. Fiona is threatened, though, by a woman called Millie. And when Joe gets a job offer from Millie's father to come work with him in Coventry Garden, which is nowhere near Whitechapel, Fiona doesn't want him to take it, but she understands why he has to take it if they want to get the shop. He'll be paid a lot more. So Joe goes, and, well, Millie gets him drunk, and they have sex, and Millie gets pregnant. Joe then, after the death of Fiona's father, has to go back to Whitechapel to tell Fiona, I have to marry Millie. I got her pregnant. In which case, that is like the ultimate betrayal to her. So at that time, she's freaking out. She's, devastated because he proposed to her and he went off and slept with Millie, got Millie pregnant, and now had to propose to her and marry her. And at that same time, her little sister, the brand new baby her mother just had, not while the father was dead, but before that, it's like a year old, but the baby falls sick. And her mother has to go out in the night to find a doctor, and oh my god. Fiona's mother is knocking at this door, and she sees this guy in the shadow with this woman, and she realizes it's Jack the Ripper, that she stumbled upon this murder. And, well, Jack the Ripper cannot let her get away. She becomes a victim. And who is to find her? Fiona. Fiona finds her mother mutilated on the ground. And then Charlie comes, and Charlie sees it, and oh my god, you really feel bad for him because he's freaking out, and he's trying to, save his mother, and he won't let them take his mother away, and he's just, oh my god, it's just, Charlie then runs away, and they don't see him for a period of time, and then they find him in the river. He's dead. They're thinking he was robbed or something, and, her entire life is falling apart. Now, before her mother had died, her mother went and made a claim against Burton saying, you owe us compensation. He died while on the job. This is kind of how this works. And they were waiting for his reply about the compensation, and Fiona's mother dies, and then they find out that they're not going to get it. And Fiona is freaking out because she can't support herself or her little brother Seamus. And their uncle Roddy, who really isn't their uncle, he's a policeman who was best friends with her dad, took them in, but she feels like it's charity work and she wants to make it on her own, but she knows she can't. So she goes to Burton to beg for the money. And while she's there, she sneaks into his office and she's waiting, and she can hear him talking to somebody else about her father's murder, that they murdered him. Now they find Fiona, and this has to be the funniest part because I actually laughed at this, and I didn't mean to, but there's a stack of money just chilling there on his desk, and what does she do? She picks it up and throws it at him. I'm pretty sure she kept some of it because she gets a lot of money somehow, but she picks it up and she throws it at him and runs away. Now, Burton can't let her get away because she knows that he's a murderer. I mean, no one's gonna believe her anyways, but he needs to finish the job. So Fiona runs home, she hides with Seamus, and these guys come around, they're snooping around, and they almost find them. The thing that saves them is a rat. This guy's apparently terrified of rats, and he runs away. Fiona then goes around and pawns off all of her belongings. The things Joe gave her, her mother's things, so that way they can get money to go to America. She knows that this is the only way she's going to survive is if she ups and leaves and goes to America because her father's brother lives in America. He has a shop in America. She could work for him and everything's gonna be okay. This leads us into part 2 of the book where Fiona is on a train and she meets this guy named Nicholas. Now, he's not much older than she is, but he's ill and they kind of become friends. And when they get to the boating docks, she is talking to him about the tickets, and she doesn't know that there's different classes. He's going to be in first class, and she has no idea what to do, and he explains, well, what about your ticket? And she automatically goes, oh, we need pre-bought tickets? Holy shit. So she goes to buy these tickets, they're all sold out, and this guy, Nicholas, takes them under his wing because he's like, I'm in first class, they gave me a bigger room than what I needed, I've got 2 beds, no strings attached, just, you can come with me, we'll get you some new clothes, we'll make you look proper, so that way, no one's gonna look at things weirdly. So they're on the boat with Nicholas, they're in first class, and she is amazed by all of this, and they become really good friends, her and Nicholas, not in a romantic way. On the boat, she discovers that Nicholas is gay, in which case, in that time, that was a big no-no. You were not allowed to be gay. So she doesn't say anything to him. It doesn't really faze her, but at the same time, she's just like, oh, okay, wait a second. Fiona makes it to New York with Seamus. They leave Nicholas to go find her uncle's shop, and she finds out that the shop is not only closed, but that her uncle's an alcoholic. Alright, that is stereotypical Irishman, but he's got a good reason to be drunk. His wife recently gave birth and died of influenza, is it? There was some epidemic that went around and it killed off a bunch of people, but his baby did survive, and their neighbor took the baby because the father was unable to take care of the baby. When her Uncle Michael sees her and she explains who she is, he offers for her to stay. Michael asks about her family, like, where's my brother? Like, did he come with you? What about Charlie? Like, where are they? And she has to explain that they're dead. And what's really, really bad is Seamus. I feel really bad for him because once they're up in his flat above the shop, they're talking, her and Seamus is going on about all these people who died. And he thinks that Nicholas is dead because while they were on the boat, Seamus had to pretend that Nicholas was his father and Fiona was his mother. So he kind of grew accustomed to that and was like, they're dead, mom's dead, dad's dead, Charlie's dead, dad's dead again, and it's just, oh my god, it's horrible. And he thinks Fiona's going to be the next one to go. So she has to explain to him, like, no, everything's gonna be okay, just stop. And it's really bad. Michael ends up giving Fiona the shop because she just harasses the shit out of him. So she goes to the shop and she plans to reopen it and bring it back because it's going to be repossessed because Michael owes so much on it. He owes the bank, he owes his vendors. So she reopens the shop, she brings it back to life, and then she ventures into a tea business. How she reopened the shop is amazing. And I mean it in every sense of the way because Michael owed all this money, and she's a woman who was only 18 years old at the time, and she goes to America. When she traded her money in, she got a lot more than what she came over with in American dollars. So she goes to the bank and is like, I can pay this off if you give me the shop. I'll keep up on it. I'll pay my bills and all of this. And the guy will not sell it to her because she's a woman, she's not married, and she's only 18 years old. So when she's leaving, this guy stands up for her and he convinces the banker to give her the shop. Oh, I can't go on anymore because I would just ruin the story from there on out. What I liked about this book and what I didn't like about this book. What I didn't like was some of the characters. Like, I don't really think I really got to know Burton as well as I probably should have. I really think if we got to know him on a deeper level, that it would have made the story a little bit more darker. I mean, you find out who he is, and that was a shocking twist. But apart from that, which was at the very end, you really don't have much about him apart from the fact that he's this aristocratic asshole who will not be part of the union, who will not pay his workers and won't treat them right. I also didn't like when Fiona marries Nicholas. I understand why she did it, and I applaud her for doing so to keep her friend safe. But you do not get William's reaction. You don't get her telling him, and I really missed that. I really wish that it was in there. You get a snippet of it about them arguing about it, and her telling William, Nicholas means more to me than you do, and I really feel so bad for William about it because he genuinely loved her. And I wish we had something more for it. What I really liked some of the twists and turns in this book because you get two really big ones at the end. Two I did not see coming. And, oh my god, you need to read it because you just stand there like, what? How did that happen? What? And it's awesome because you actually sit there and you just say what over and over again with this amazed, holy crap situation going on. I also really liked all of the characters. They were well built, apart from Burton, but they were well built. You really got to know them on a personal level, so when something happened to them, something bad, you really did feel for them. Even Michael, Fiona's uncle, when you first meet him and you find out that his wife died and he no longer had his baby because it was taken away from him because he turned to drink. Fiona has to be my favorite character because she's just such a mean lady. I mean, she doesn't take shit from anyone, and when she finds out that Joe cheated on her, that he got Millie pregnant, that he had to marry Millie. She really did want to forgive him. She really did want to take him back. But she knew she couldn't. She knew she could never truly forgive him. So when he comes back into her life, she has that hesitance at it. And I mean, granted, it's 10 years on, but she still is very hesitant about him and doesn't want anything to do with him. And I really, really did enjoy that, because that is a human reaction. If someone betrays your trust, you are not inclined to go, no, it's okay. All in all, I give the Tea Rose an A+. It was a good read. It was a lot of fun to read. The only downfall, apart from, the character Burton, is that it's very long. So, it's very off-putting, but it is very good. It does go by really fast after you reach the parts of the murders. I am now heading into my March madness. So on March 1st, I will begin reading The Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. I will do my review on The Vampire Academy in a big bundle, so it'll be all 6 books. I'll just basically give a big spiel about the gist of the story, and then that's about it. So the Tea Rose is an A+. I highly recommend it, especially if you love the Victorian era, if you're, interested in Jack the Ripper type of thing, or if you just really want to read about a woman who, takes over her boss and just kicks his ass and destroys his company. That's fun too. Next up is The Vampire Academy, Heat 2, March Marathon Madness is happening. Yeah! Although this is probably going to be up in like April, my luck. Until then, you guys, happy reading. Bye!